Hi, it's Eva again. I wake up ambitious people like you and dare them to be great. And today we're gonna talk with nobody less than Naz. She's the founder of this fast-growing international coaching platform, Pathio, and I'm so excited to talk to her because she has so many great things to say. So welcome, Naz.
Yeah. Thank you so much for having me, Ev. I love the platform that you're building, and it's an honor to be a part of it. So thank you for including me.
Yes, of course. I'm super honored to be part of your platform as well because I'm also a coach at the Pathio. So we are kind of building forces together to get to great things. So today we're gonna talk about three things. So first of all, we're gonna help you spot how you can notice whether you're actually not in the right spot anymore career-wise. So how do you notice that you're not fully using your potential anymore in your job, in your career, so also in your life? Secondly, Naz is gonna give some really interesting tips on how you can unblock yourself. Like, what are the first steps you can do if you're not using your full potential, if you're stuck in that career? And then finally, the juicy part. We're also going to talk about Ness's personal journey. So, how did she go from not using her full potential at the start of her career to now using it all and really kicking ass with this fast growing coaching platform? So, this is all the things that we're going to cover, probably also a bit more because there's just so much to say. And I would say, let's get started.
Let's do it.
Let's do it. So the most people I work with or that I invite on this show, they're very passionate about something. They want to create an impact, they want to have meaning, they want to know that what they're doing actually creates a change in this world. It's worth putting all their effort in and their capabilities. So you as a person, Naz, and with Pathio, what's the change that you're trying to create in this world? Like, what's your drive, your purpose?
Yeah, amazing question. My purpose, also a big question. I would say it's all at the intersection of work and life. Work has always had a big part in my life, not because I work a lot or I love working, but because I believe creating and learning is what keeps us alive, and work is a great way to do that. And the contemporary workforce is spending a third of their waking lives at work. So a third of our lives literally is spent at work. And work has such an incredible impact, tremendous impact on our happiness. And I believe that work can be an amazing source of, fulfillment, joy, self-actualization, and just like positive things in your life. However, for most people, it's a source of anxiety, stress, unhealthy habits, and unhappiness. I was reading a study yesterday that said 20% of people reported feeling miserable at work.
Wow, that's
And
a
I was
lot.
like, that's just wrong, like way
Yeah.
too wrong for something that we spend a third of our lives doing. So that's really where my purpose lies, to help people create happier lives at work, and that would have great impact on their lives outside of work as well.
All right, good. And how do you do that? Because it's a big one, especially if there's 20% not living it yet, and then probably there's many more that didn't report it. So how do you do that?
Yeah, it's obviously I'm doing my piece of the pie as a one woman show. It's a hard stat to move, but I will do everything I can, and collaborating with amazing people like you. Hopefully, we will create the change that's needed in the culture of work. But yeah, how I contribute to this mission is really twofold. The first one is I work in one of the largest companies in the world. In my corporate job, I work in design, and I try to contribute to a culture where the team is productive, but also healthy and happy and having fun. And I'm very lucky to be in an environment where that is celebrated as well, because sometimes it's not always possible.
Hmm.
Um, Secondly, and this is obviously where we will spend most of our time talking about today, is I have a business called Pathio. Pathio is a coaching platform that matches creative leaders with career coaches based on their background and challenge. When we say creative leaders, sometimes it gets a bit confusing. We don't mean people who work in arts and design or creative fields only, but people who have a creative approach to their work and lives.
Mm-hmm.
So it's people who are not defined by a single role or title or company, and who are, let's say, open to experimenting and matching.
Do you then mean people that are also very like generalists, or is it broader than generalists?
No, it is more about your approach, I would say, to, yeah, you might be a very specific kind of.
That's Google doing its thing. For the listeners that don't have video, there was just fireworks behind me. Let's ignore that.
Yeah, okay. Do you want to ask that question again, or?
So the creative leaders, what is it then generalist if you say an atypical approach, or what do you mean with a typical approach? Can you give some examples?
Yes, of course. So I wouldn't say it's really related to being a generalist so much. Like, you could be working in a very specific field, but let's say you want more out of your life. You want to live your career and life a bit more fully. You are open to maybe adding a new spin to it or exploring what else you could be doing. So it's more about that, like, curiosity, maybe. Maybe I should call it curious leaders.
Yeah, no, but curiosity indeed. That's the word that also popped in my mind when you were talking. Yeah.
Interesting. Okay, I'm gonna note that down because I was battling with this one. So yeah, more like curious, ambitious, but not just in a way that like society's expectation ambitious. It's more like ambitious about creating a fulfilled and happy life. So that's
Okay.
the kind of people that we support.
Okay, and so that's the people that you really focus on with Pathio, and that you, yeah, through them you wanna create your vision, your impact.
Absolutely, yeah.
All right.
And yeah, we help basically these people who are ready to change, essentially, to pivot careers, build new businesses, grow their businesses, become happier leaders, manage transitions. So coming back from maybe a long parental leave or getting a new job that's in a different country, so on and so forth. So really kind of whatever your work-life journey throws at you, based on your challenge, we really try to match you with the right person to give you the right support in that moment. And matching is also a huge, huge part of our unique selling proposition, I'd say. We really take care of each single individual and their story and what they're trying to achieve. We offer unlimited free discovery calls with different matches to make sure that the clients find the right fit for them. Our coaches as well, they're not only trained in different kind of coaching schools and have the right qualifications, but they also have interesting career stories themselves. So we
Mhm.
work with exited entrepreneurs. Some of our coaches have held leadership positions up in companies like Spotify, Disney, LVMH. So they really bring also the depth of experience, and they have been in the rooms that the people that we're supporting have been in as well. So that's kind of creates a level playing field where you can actually connect to the person across from you.
And that's what I found particularly interesting in Pathio. It's the network that you created around Pathio of coaches. It's very impressive because indeed it's all creative leaders or curious leaders themselves.
Exactly. Yeah.
And very often what I hear in people when they're looking for a coach is, first of all, where do I start? Because there's so many coaches, and the approach of coaches really goes from being very fluffy to being like super rational. So how do I spot what I need? Then if I know what I need, how am I how do I look for them? And how do I make sure that it's then also good enough quality for what I want? So it's the fact that you do that part, that matching part, with then a pool of super interesting business coaches. Yeah, that's incredible, because it's truly what people, it makes them stuck on their search if they notice that they're actually on a search. So I think that's really incredible with Pathio, how you accomplish that.
Absolutely. Yeah. A lot of people not end up getting the right help similar to therapy as well. I don't know how to find a therapist. The last one I tried was really bad. And you just like end up not getting the support that you need. Coaching is even worse because people generally don't even realize they need coaching in the first place. So a lot of our marketing is also around that awareness. Like if you have these signals, maybe it could be a good thing to consider because
Yeah.
people, it's not automatically being like, oh, I'm struggling in my career, I should hire a coach. No, I think that's the word. We're still a bit behind on that as well.
Yeah, people kind of take it for granted sometimes that struggle is normal, and a certain amount of struggle is normal. I mean, you struggle is also what builds resilience and what you learn from.
Yeah,
However, I often see that people sometimes take things for granted as if, okay, it's normal to just only like 20% of my job and still spend 8, 9, 10 hours a day there. So it's really to also create a new normal in what people settle with and what they don't, that we need to create a change on. Yeah.
absolutely. And we'll speak today hopefully about these signals of
Yeah.
what are
Indeed.
the things that will bring.
Indeed.
Yeah.
But before we do that, I'm curious on, because you say you have a full-time job next to running Pathio. So how did you get to the point where you thought, hey, I'm gonna start this coaching platform. I'm gonna start doing this and providing this as a service to the world.
Yeah, it's a very classic kind of, I would say, founder story that I needed this, I think.
Mm-hmm.
And I found my way through it. So I was very lucky to be introduced to career coaching early in my career. I was, I think, like 24 or 25 when I hired my first coach, and I had no idea what to expect, right?
Yeah.
I was like, is she going to help me write my emails better? Is she going to help me like get better at my job and like have more like confidence like men, you know? Like I don't know what was happening. I just went into it with an open mind, and what I found was something super profound. She helped me figure out what I wanted out of my life. And I was like, wow. She really helped me understand what my values are, create a vision for my future self, and also like short-term goals, long-term goals. She helped me put in routines to be able to kind of change. And to be honest, 6 years on to this day, I'm still working to get to the vision that I've created with her 6 years ago. So that for me
Wow.
is like, was such a fundamental work that I think everyone should do. And it was amazing. And
So what made you reach out to a coach at 24, 25?
honestly, it was super random because I was like, oh, I could probably be better at my job. I was feeling a bit imposter. I had just got this like new job in London, a big company. Before that, I was working in a 30 people company. Now I was in this like international corporate. I was very good at my skills, but I didn't really know like how to navigate the organization. Obviously, back in the day, I couldn't even articulate this clearly. Now I looking back I can, but I was just like, I think I need some help, you know? Like I had no idea. And to be honest, like she probably wasn't even the right person to help me with that specific task, but like she just opened my eyes to the world of coaching in a way that was like way bigger than the problem that I was going in for. So it was kind of a bit random,
All right.
in that
Because
moment.
I know you a little bit as well from before, and asking for help wasn't your strongest suit. Yeah, because you wanted to like do it and do it alone because you were really a go-getter in that way. So how did you then find her, or what was the trigger of seeking that help?
Yeah. I guess I was just curious. I remember Googling, which just sounds so funny. This is pre-COVID. I was like, career coach East London. And she had a nice website. And I was like, yeah, sure. Like I literally had no idea what I was looking for. Like I was super just like a fish in the sea. Let's see what this is about. I think it was more curiosity. But yeah, it touched me when he said you don't ask for help. I think I I need to start asking for help on Pathio because it's hard to be a solo founder. But anyway, so of course after that experience, I was like hooked. You know, like I'm like, wow, this is amazing. And I had a lot of coaching experiences after that as well. I think I had like 7 coaches maybe so far, so
Okay.
quite a few.
All right.
And some, the company that I was working at the time have provided me in like a leadership program. Some I kind of seeked out and hired myself. And I've started realizing patterns where generally the ones that were given to me by the company, again, not all of them, but would feel a bit more like tick boxy, maybe wouldn't be the right person, maybe wouldn't be the right time. While the ones that I seeked out and hired myself would be like these profound experiences because I would like choose the person in a way that would relate to the problem that I was having at the time. And I also had really bad experiences in that area where like one of the coaches that I worked with literally contributed to my burnout.
Oh,
Like
wow.
how is this even possible after knowing what I know now? It is shocking to me, but she probably had KPIs that she had to hit, you know?
Yeah.
So, and then like the realization came that there is really a need for a platform that provides the right help in the right context with the right person. And we do not like take a step back from quality. Like, I do not want one client to have a 4-star experience. Like, it is really, I need everyone to have the most amazing experience. Exceeding expectations is like really what, yeah, I come to work every day for. And that's what have been happening so far. And hopefully we'll thrive to keep that. I want to mention as well, we are supporting companies. We're supporting anywhere between like scale ups to multinational companies. And again, I'm not currently in the business of like replacing all of the coaching platforms in the world, but sometimes people's needs are very specific,
Yeah.
and just matching them with a random coach on a big tech platform is not going to deliver the result that you are trying to achieve. So we're also working in a very curated way with each leader in the company that is leading a big piece of work for them
Mhm.
to make sure that they get like the curated right help that they need.
Okay. And so what are things that you take into account when you do that very specific matching? What do you look for, or what can people, when they are looking for a coach, be aware of and look for?
Yeah, amazing question. So I think firstly, like all of the coaches that I work with have their own curiosities. So I would say
Mm-hmm.
like a good coach obviously should be able to coach anyone is kind of the base of it. But in reality, coaches also have their preferred tools and methods and areas of exploration. So someone could really focus on, let's say, team leadership coaching. The other one would be very focused on like you do like somatic coaching, which is like could be completely different ways of approaching and tools of approaching. So first, like what is the specialty of that coach and what do they like to work with, and does that match the client's expectations? Secondly, it's about again that professional background. So I would never match someone who's been working in finance for 20 years to someone who has maybe never had a serious corporate job. You know, like it's impossible to level that field. So I don't know, if you have a media agency that you're growing, I would match you with someone who have maybe previously owned a media agency. So really trying to understand that kind of background.
Mm-hmm.
And lastly, it's all about vibes, to be honest. Like
Vibes. I like that.
like after speaking this much, that is the most important thing. The
Yeah.
vibe. And that is like quite fizzy and hard to kind of put on terms. But yeah, do you want someone structured and serious? Do you want someone who's more playful? Is the kind of racial background important to you, or gender important to you, or just like, do we think these two people will get along and would enjoy spending time together? And that's where the free chemistry session becomes really important,
Yeah.
because yeah, that's where at the end the client decides, hey, I click with this person, I'd love to work with them. And then I'm like, great. And sometimes that's not the case, and that's also okay.
All right. Yeah, and I can imagine that specialty and background, it's something you can look up. So if you're browsing yourself, it's something you can look up. So if you find a couple of people that you believe are a match on specialty and background, make sure that you can have some introduction calls with them, or a way to also check that vibe before you actually commit to it. So that's a way that people that are listening can maybe change their their hunt or their search
Absolutely.
ways.
Yeah.
All right.
And generally, to be honest, like if they have such a close professional background, as in, for example, I worked in innovation consulting and I was like interested in your profile when I was looking for a coach because you
Yeah.
worked in innovation consulting. And I'm like, that's such a niche field that we should connect is kind of the thesis. And then that kind of last bit is just the quick check. So I think the background fit as well really helps with that vibe check is my current hypothesis.
All right. Good. You said that you had like 6, 7 coaches, or that you tried a lot of different coaches. Is
Mhm.
this something you recommend to people to try out a lot of different coaches, or would you recommend to look for this one fit and stay with that coach? What's your
Mm,
look on that?
I think definitely try different flavors.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's also why I think the platform is important because people come back to us sometimes being like, I want to try something else this time. Because I mean, the challenges differ, right? You might be recovering from a burnout, or you might be building a business, or you might be having a leadership challenge. Your age differs, your life situation differs. Like it's just, we're all changing beings. So I think, I mean, it's great if you can find one person that you want to stick with, but I think having different flavors is incredible. I think that's definitely has to be done. Yeah, if you're interested.
Yeah, I fully agree on that. And I think as if you're a coach and you're listening in and you find it, for example, difficult that uh, previous coachees all of a sudden look for help elsewhere, that
Mm,
this is really, it's not about you. It's not because, I mean, it could be, but it's not always because you didn't do a good enough job and were able to help them with everything. It's really because, yeah, these people, they just need different things at different moments in time in their lives, need different styles, different approaches. And I really like that as well, that as a coach, you know this. And if you feel that at a certain point in time, you cannot help the person as profoundly anymore because they're done learning on the aspect where you guided them, that you also have a network yourself to guide people towards. Because that's, as a coach, your main goal is to help people further, but whether you do it yourself or not should matter less. I think that that also makes
yeah,
good coaches if you can spot that and act upon it yourself as well.
100%. And I think I remember one of the coaches that I work with, she was like, we have 9 sessions, and at 9 sessions, we're done. Like there was a journey, and she was like, we'll be done at 9. And we were really done at 9.
Yeah.
And that I also quite enjoy when there's like a deadline of working with someone. I think that helps a lot.
Yeah. All right, good. So, yeah, let's dive into the signals that you were talking about. So, what I noticed, it's very common. So, super curious people, ambitious people, people that want more out of life. Very often, they have this image that they have to have it all together, and if you're successful, you never have any hurdles. Whereas I actually see the opposite: is that when you want to go fast and you want to really make that impact, you will bump into these hurdles. You will bump into it because it also makes you stronger. But so, what are signals that you see that people that reach out to Pathio struggle with, or how can they spot it from themselves? What do they struggle with the most?
Mm. Again, everyone's very different, but I would say there are some trends that I definitely can kind of pick up. The first one is around, I'd say maybe like mid-career crisis moment. And you are, let's say, been doing similar type of role for the past 15 years. Generally happens in corporate. So let's say you've been working in corporate marketing for 15 years. You've reached a level that is successful by the society standards. You earn well and you made yourself proud, your 20-year-old self proud. But you are now grinding away at this job, working really hard, and you realize that you haven't actually chosen it intentionally. And you are kind of in this moment where you're like wasting your life away for
Hmm.
something that is doesn't have really any meaning to you anymore. And that gets very exhausting in a different way, not just because you're working hard at a lot, but it's just like, okay, what am I doing with my life?
Yeah.
And also there comes a moment where you're like, okay, now I have the skills, now I have the experience, now I have the confidence, now I can do whatever I want to do next. What is that thing?
Yeah.
Is it staying here? Is it getting another job? Is it pivoting into a new career? Is it building my own business? So you need a bit of a moment, I think, in that time to create space. And coaching is a great way to create that space, to discuss, to experiment, to understand what you want. And sometimes people decide to stay, and that's okay because that they've chosen that intentionally. But sometimes people decide, to get a side hustle, to quit and start something new, or to change to a different industry. So that could be anything, but really like taking out that time and spending time intentionally in that space is what is kind of the required recipe for that kind of problem, I would say.
Yeah. All right. So it's really these two things that you notice the most. It's like, what am I doing here, or what's next? That's the two main drivers that bring people to reach out
Yeah,
to want to work with a coach to
yeah.
figure one of these questions out.
So that's one of the kind of, I would say, use cases and situations that people are in with those kind of problems. And you can really spot it like by if you find yourself complaining all the time to your mom, to your partner, to your best friend, to your colleague about this situation and are unable to find like the way out, that's kind of also a good sign for you to be like, okay, maybe I should get a professional help and make sure that I sort this out.
Right. And yeah, the complaining, it's if you don't know whether you complain, just ask people around you. They will be able to tell you very well, because very often people complain all the time without them being aware of it. So like something's not good,
Yeah,
but
yeah,
the
yeah.
amount of complaining often happens on a subconscious level. So really, if you don't know whether you're doing it, ask your surroundings, and you will have the answer. At least if um, they're caring enough to actually tell you the truth.
I love this. Now I'm going to go around asking everyone if I'm complaining.
Good. Let me know what comes out. I think I will know what will come out, but indeed, the amount of complaining, it's a very good signal to know whether you're actually not using your full potential anymore. It takes so much energy from you to always complain. And actually, what happens in your brain as well, when you're always complaining, it's you putting a focus on what's going wrong,
Right.
because you can only filter so much with your brain, because there are just so many impulses. And complaining, as a result of the complaining, that's actually what you give as an instruction to your brain to start doing. Like every day you wake up and you're going to filter on what's bad. So the complaining, it's really it's like something you're digging in the ground to make it just deeper and deeper, and it won't get you out. Complaining is never ever the solution. It's always the thing that makes things worse.
Yeah.
So yeah, a very important one, to spot it when you're doing it, and to just tackle it, because it doesn't make people happier.
Yeah. It has a very sticky energy. Mm,
Yeah.
yeah. In Britain, I mean, we do complain about the weather, but I would say work context, I find it quite nice that people try to avoid complaining because,
Yeah.
like, especially at work, if people start complaining, it's also like a disease that just makes the whole culture really
Hmm.
messy.
No, indeed.
Anyways, that's a sidetrack on complaining. We can have another episode on that.
Are there any other signs that you see, or that people that you can give to people on how they can spot that they're not using their full potential anymore, or they're not in the right spot anymore, just
Yeah.
need some help?
Again, quite a lot of them. One big one, I think, is mostly for like high achievers and people who can't deliver, even if they're under a lot of stress because they've just been made for it. And they work a lot and they are delivering, but they get health problems.
Yeah.
So they are constantly ill, or they have anxiety that they don't really know where it's coming from, or they have sleep problems, which is also very
Hmm.
common. And if you ask them, like, are you stressed about work? They're like, no, no, it's all right. I can handle it. They can. Mentally, they're very strong.
Yeah.
but their body is trying to tell them that actually not something is not okay. And it's almost like high functioning. I mean, I'm not a therapist, I don't know, but it's like a high functioning anxiety or stress moment where, yeah, they like, that's actually really hard to spot in terms of like what kind of help you need, because you don't want to admit again that you are like, you need help. But yeah, please, 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 if you hear yourself in these signs, like try to take a bit of a break, or like try to kind of watch yourself a little bit more and be a bit more mindful, try to say no a little bit more. Like that is really, yeah, it kind of breaks my heart to see people battle with that kind of situation. So that's one of the reasons why yeah, it's a good use case to search for some help and coaching. Yeah.
Yeah, the good book about that is When the Body Says No from Gabor Mate. He really, and I do, the body gives you signals all the time. Like you always get these signs from your body. You don't just get ill. You don't just get sleeping problems, but it's actually your body trying to tell you something. But with your brain, typically, yeah, because you say it's these high achieving people, your intelligence can be a blessing and a curse, but it can really be a curse on how you're always trying to convince yourself that it's not that bad. And you always have these smart, rational explanations of, okay, but no, but it will only last 2 more months and then it's finished because then the deal is closed, for example. When people say things like that, I'm like, no, I mean, this is your pattern. If the deal is closed, you will find another deal that's very stressful, because that's just how you're functioning and what your strategy today is towards getting results and getting shit done. It is to create this high stress moments, but you can also do that without the high stress moments. It's just a question of how do you then use it without needing this always near stress dead moments. But indeed, yeah, health problems, it's a big one.
Yeah, I know a few people just had that book too. So thank you for the
Yeah.
recommendation. Sounds great.
All right. So if you complain a lot, if you have health problems, like physical health problems, any
Mhm.
other signs that people can look for?
Yeah, maybe lastly, it's all about um, not realizing your potential, in the sense that like I have this a lot and had this a lot, and we worked on it together. It's, let's say, when you have dreams or things that you want to achieve that are really big and you think you have the right things to achieve them, but somehow you can't take action towards them, or there are some limiting beliefs and thoughts that are stopping you along the way.
Mm-hmm.
And these like subconscious beliefs come generally from our childhood, um, the kind of thoughts and beliefs that we have about ourselves, and they really trip us up in adulthood. So when we were working together, for example, like my limiting beliefs that I think I'm lazy, and I think that I'm never good enough to achieve what I want to achieve. Like I'm good, but like not good enough,
Yeah.
like to like really achieve what I want to achieve. And the work that needs to be done there, it's not like to avoid or try to escape from those thoughts, because they will chase you and pin you down and it's terrible. But it's more about like being able to look them in the eye and be like, you were a foe and now you're going to be a friend and we're going to do this together. Like it's not about getting rid of them, but it's more about like befriending them so that you can actually move ahead, like, just take action. And yeah, that's also, a lot of people get tripped up in that moment and not be able to realize their potential because they're just like in their head a lot, and they need to get out
Mm-hmm.
of their head and out in the world. So
Yeah, I call it walking heads. People that are always in their head, using their intelligence for everything. But you also sometimes physically see it, like the head doesn't fit the body properly because it's just not connected. There's just this full disconnect between the body and the head, and that disconnect often results in people not knowing how to feel any type of physical sensations, or being overwhelmed with emotions all the time because the body says no, but we're part of the deal, so we're gonna take over because you don't let us play along. So that's how you spot whether you're a walking head.
I
Um,
love that. Yeah.
so what are common beliefs that you see most of your clients have if they struggle with limiting beliefs? You say like, I'm not good enough, I'm lazy. Are there other things?
I think, I mean, it's hard for people to come and say what their limiting beliefs are. Like, they're not like filling out a form on my website being like, I believe I'm not good enough. But like, there are kind of, yeah, maybe there are different signs of how they kind of bring that on, as in, oh, like, I'm not happy, like, is probably the biggest kind of signal of like not realizing your potential. I'm not happy at what I'm doing. I'm not succeeding at what I'm doing. I want to do something different, but like, I don't have the confidence. So that's kind of what they come with. And the beliefs could differ. But I think, to be honest, like, not being good enough is probably a very widespread belief that's like 95% of people battle with, and some people are able to work with that, and some people are not, and that's, I would say, the biggest one.
What I
Some
also see often when you say like I'm not happy, I'm not successful, is that many people struggle to believe that they're worthy of happiness. I'm worthy of success. I'm worthy of taking space. I'm worthy of chasing my dreams. So that there's this belief that even if they would want it, that it's not possible for them, or like why would they have it? So that's a big subconscious one that often comes up in
amazing.
coaching sessions, that you see, okay, but where does it go? That's always childhood, eh? If you
Yeah,
believe that you're not deserving of that happiness, or you're not deserving of things going your way because you always have had setbacks, and life is like this big struggle, like why all of a sudden would I deserve it, to it going smooth? It almost sounds dangerous to them. So that's a big one that a lot of people are not even aware of, that they're living with that in their subconsciousness.
that's amazing. Like, they are made to believe that
Yeah.
that's that they
Hmm.
don't deserve it. So it's really hard one to, yeah, crack. Amazing. It's really
Yeah.
amazing.
Yeah. All right. And what I always believe in is that not using your full potential, it has positive consequences as well. And your self-sabotage, not using potential, I always say it's a power play. So that if you want to get rid of your sabotaging behaviors, or how you're blocking your own potential, that you first and foremost need to know, okay, but how is it actually benefiting me to keep doing what I'm doing, to keep being stuck, to keep choosing things that are actually not making me fully happy. So, what are some of these positive consequences that you think keep people stuck and keep people in places where they're actually not,
Mm.
yeah, fully happy or using their full potential?
Yeah.
Why are people not changing?
It's all about a choice, right? Like, choice is kind of the word there. Like, do you choose to change, or do you choose not to change?
Mm-hmm.
And I think that choice has to be made intentionally. Like, even if you choose not to change, if you made that choice intentionally, that's okay. Like, I'm a big fan of security. That's why I have a day job and I love
Yeah.
it. Um, some people, like, I don't always want people to be like, quit your job and follow your passions. I think it's naive in the economy that we live in, and you're going to create more stress for yourself. If you have security in your job, great. If you want to avoid the pain of changing, and maybe it's not the right time in your life, maybe your personal life is going through something that needs more energy, okay, maybe like not changing right now and staying where you are is the right thing to do. Um, and those could be the benefits, but I would say, like, even if you choose to stay, do the work intentionally to say, okay, maybe this is not the right time, or I actually chose to stay, so that you can get rid of that spinning wheel of thoughts that you have about, like, should I change or should I not, or am I happy? Like, at least you can make a decision to be like, this is not the year for it, and that's fine. A lot of
Mm-hmm.
people make that choice. So those are the benefits, I'd say.
Money is also a big one, I think. People think, yeah, but if I then quit this job, I will not have all the resources anymore. Is it worth it? And often, yeah, changing, it's always scary because you're gonna go into this liminality where you don't yet know what the new position will fully be like. But yeah, so it's tricky because you go from a known that's not ideal to an unknown where you don't know whether it's going to be super nice, worse, ideal. So it's indeed yeah.
Tough period. But I would say, like, when not changing has the worst long-term consequences is when you are having those health problems that we mentioned. So if you're having anxiety, if you're not sleeping, if you're having illnesses, literally, then like long-term not changing will have worse consequences on
Mm-hmm.
health. So even if you have security, but you're miserable physically, like that's probably a very good consideration to consider changing. Yeah.
Yeah, and changing doesn't always have to be all or nothing, because a lot of
Mm,
people have that belief as well. So, for example, in my journey, I always knew that this was where I was gonna end up at, building my own company, but I just did it in steps. So first, I just took a coaching job somewhere in a company. I did it part time so that I would have part time my own clients, part time clients over there. And then gradually I just said, okay, now it's time to actually um, take a little bit more space with my own clients, a little bit less at that company, until there was a moment where I said, okay, but now I can actually make that step and go all in on my own business. So it doesn't always require you to have an all or nothing approach. You're doing the same thing, Naz. You're also combining it with your current job. So very often that is also something that an external person can help you with. It's to generate options that go beyond all or nothing, but there's so many different options in between, and it's actually in all the colors in between the black and the white that there's things that you believe, okay, but this actually makes a lot of sense, and it doesn't even cost me a lot of fear or courage to overcome or to make that choice. So finding these options in between, it's something that an external person can really help you, and that external person can even be a friend that's very curious and loves to generate options. But it's nearly never all or nothing.
no. Yeah, I
Yeah.
completely
Yeah.
agree. I love that.
Okay, so we talked about the signals, about the consequences of not changing, and because it's very important to take them into account. You don't just want to throw them out the window, because if security is important to you, it is important to you, and you need to take that into consideration. Otherwise, the change will fail, and you will feel like it's not truly what you want, or yeah, in line with your needs. So if you find after listening to this, okay, maybe I'm not in the right spot, maybe it is time to create some changes, but I don't know how, which concrete tips would you give to people? What can they do? How can they start on their journey towards making choices that are more aligned with living their full potential?
Nice. So the first one I'd say is have a look at your behaviors and habits on day to day and see if there are very small things you can do. Like if you need some space to think and create space in your diary, space in your life, can you wake up 10 minutes earlier just to have a cup of coffee without looking at your phone, staring out the window? Space. Could you go for a 15-minute walk alone to a new neighborhood? So
Mhm,
really creating that habit hack and change to make new connections, I would say, in your brain.
mhm,
Can you say no to a task at work? Can you read one article about the topic that you always keep talking that you're interested in? Could you watch a YouTube video about it? Could you journal? Like a lot of literally pick the one that is going to be the easiest for you and do that for a few days, like just very playfully, not like too much stress to see what kind of things pop up. And again, journaling can be a great tool while you do this to like just put your thoughts down, be able to understand yourself a bit better. So really kind of opening a bit of space is probably the smallest thing you can do, and it's the most impactful.
again, the space is then opening space for inner dialogue, or for whatever is already in you to have a slightly bigger chance to show itself, rather than you
Exactly.
always working or complaining or doing whatever you're doing at an automatic pilot. Yeah.
Exactly. And that could be
Okay.
like stopping complaining for a day.
Yeah.
Like that's
Challenge accepted.
that's a good one as well. Yeah, it's like it brings insight, I
Yeah.
think it's the word. Yeah, that's what you need. And secondly, like if you're like, okay, I'm ready to do the work now, like I kind of know, like I'm out of that loop of negativity and now I'm ready to do the work. There's a lot of helpful content out there.
Yeah.
Like this episode is great, but there's a lot of like books and podcasts, obviously lists and lists that you can read, but there's a few that kind of come to the surface for me. If you are in that moment of life design or like a bit of a life crisis where you're like, I don't know if I'm happy here and I don't know what to do next, I don't know if this life was right for me, kind of moment, I think the book Extraordinary by L.K. Edwards is amazing. A colleague of mine recommended it to me, and it basically has a basic set of coaching tools in the book, and it really like is a very beautiful story, and it hold your hand through these different tools that you can do yourself, and it's a really nice taster of coaching without having a coach. It's a very easy read, so I would really recommend like to kind of maybe do a bit of work on yourself through that book and see what comes up. The other one is if you're like really struggling with like not being able to achieve, not being able to realize your potential, if you're stuck with limiting beliefs, Playing Big by Tara Moore is also amazing. There are a few meditations in there that are obviously more powerful when done with a coach, but they were the ones that really kind of helped me when I was talking about that initial coaching experience, that like create that vision and create that confidence that I'm like, okay, this is what I'm going to do, and I'm going to do this. Lastly, this is more for people who are interested in heart-centered leadership and how like basically that mission of changing work from this strict, rigid, like dominant kind of energy, like more like a yang energy to a yin energy. One of my good friends have a podcast called Humanity at Work
Mhm.
from Christina Disler. It's an amazing resource. I've listened to their last episode twice, and I might do it a third time. So it's packed with insights. So that's those are the kind of things that I think people can start kind of picking up on their own. You are the biggest project and product that you will ever work on. So give yourself time. Like you give so much energy and time to other people's priorities at work most of the time. Like you are the biggest project. You are your biggest creation. So
Yeah,
yeah.
I love that. You are your biggest project. Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, take time for yourself, dude.
All right.
Um,
I'll add these to the show notes as well for people listening in so that you can look them up
oh,
afterwards.
yeah, great. And lastly, yeah, I mean, if you want the fastest, most impactful version of this whole thing, obviously try to get a coach, and I can help you with that. That's a little plugin, but yeah, absolutely, it is like so fast when you get a coach for the right problem. It's just life changing in a way that you wouldn't expect. So I definitely recommend if you're ready to consider that.
Yeah, you said in the beginning that once upon a time you had the bad coach that really nearly drove you into burnout. So, what are things to be aware of? Like, what are signs that maybe this is not the best coach?
Hmm.
What are the warning signs people can look for?
Hmm. I think if you are feeling like you're being held against your will.
Okay, that's intense. How, in what sense did you feel like that? Like, what was it specifically that people can?
I think, I mean, for coaching, after every call, you need to leave the call in a super happy state, in a state where you are like, oh, I feel lighter and better, right? If you leave the call with a heavier energy, with less energy than you had before, that is kind of like a sign that you don't actually want to do that thing. And when I say held against your will, I mean like continuing something because you paid for it, and or continue something because you've agreed to do, but every step you actually don't get closer to your goal, but you feel like, oh, I have this thing, I don't want to go to it. So really watch your like energy, how you feel before and after that call, and please don't try to stay because you've committed to it. either
Okay.
financially or time-wise. Obviously, commitments is important in coaching, but if it's actually useful to you and you
Yeah.
are happy. So yeah, that's probably what I would say to watch for.
Indeed. What also to watch for is that if you're in front of a coach that believes they have the right answer and they're forcing certain answers upon you, that's also not a good sign, because first of all, they can have the right answer, though it's always up to you whether you want to take it or not. And if you don't want to take that answer as your answer, it's up to the coach to also see, okay, but how do we work with that, and what else can we do, and what work maybe needs to be done that's now lying in between you and the right thing to do according to them, and how to work on that. But if you feel like you're being forced into a certain solution, or you feel judged for having certain answers or for not doing certain things, then probably you're not in the right spot.
100%. Yeah.
Right.
What's right for you isn't right for me. And the coach's role is to find what's right for me, not tell
Yeah,
me what's right. So yeah.
exactly. Yeah. All right. So first of all, look at your behavior and see how you can create some more space to listen to what's already going on inside of yourself. Secondly, go out there in the self-help, personal development ocean of books, podcasts, and in particular the ones that you recommended, which we will put in the show notes. And then finally, go to look for a coach either via coaching platform Pathio, or go look for yourself and really make sure that you also see what's the background of that person, what's the methodology that they're using. Um, Find a way to check the vibe between you two before you really commit to a coaching trajectory, because if you want to commit to it, you want to make sure that it's like the right decision. And if you do that, and if you know that, and you find that right coach, growth is going typically quite fast. So be ready to buckle up and, and go on that journey.
Exciting.
All
Yeah.
right, good. Then we're at the end of this episode, and we are at the juicy part, the questions that I always ask my guests.
Ooh.
And it's questions about you. So if you would look back, let's say 10 years back in time from now, what were things that you did to sabotage yourself or to not fully use your full potential, that today you fixed it, you got it covered, so that today are not blocking factors anymore?
Mm. A lot of things. Um,
That's good. Being
we always
vulnerable, we love that.
we always have them, right? But yeah, I think when I look back 10 years ago, I lacked a lot of confidence.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and that surfaced as being a perfectionist and an overthinker.
Okay.
So
So that no one else could see that you were actually not having the confidence, but everyone thought, wow, Ness, she has her things together.
I don't know. I think I would say maybe not, because I did seem very anxious and
Okay.
stressed as well to the outside world. No, I would
Okay.
say that I did look con- non-confident, but my outputs were good quality because I would obsess over them and like spend, I don't know, wake up in midnight and open my computer because I like thought about doing something on an Excel sheet. Never do those things anymore. But like I was just like obsessive in a way that's like life or death, and it has to be perfect. Well, perfect doesn't exist, bro. Like, stop, chill, it was just very like energy consuming, and in a way that like with time I realized actually perfectionism and overthinking are very like junior behaviors, because you really think you can like, I don't know, you can make it perfect, or you can like, it's just very, I don't know, it doesn't come from the right place, I think. And even though outputs were quality, outcomes weren't maybe necessarily where I would want them to be.
Yeah.
And over time, like trial and error, I realized actually this behavior of obsessive perfectionism wasn't really serving my career.
Yeah.
And what I realized was serving was like action, like just done is better than perfect. Um, do it to get feedback, do it to learn. Like I would take maybe 10 hours of work before asking for feedback. Now I ask for feedback before I start the work. You know, try to,
That's a radical change.
yeah, it's like work smarter, not harder kind of mentality, but
Mm-hmm.
in a way that's really good for you and it's actually good for the work. So I would say that's the thing that I changed the most in how I approach my job and my work. Yeah.
And did you then overcome that with these coaches? Because it can be very scary, what you just described for someone where it needs to be like super perfect to done is better than perfect. Like, how
Yeah.
did you? What was like the? Were there some moments where all of a sudden you had these aha insights, or was it really gradually that you just noticed that you could get into that action easier and easier?
I think it's gradual.
Yeah.
I've also realized that like how I felt in those different moments, like I felt much more stressed when I was trying to force something. I felt much more relaxed when I was just like playing with it and experimenting with it. So it definitely came with time. And I would say the aha moment that really like made it like written in stone that this is like how I like to work was through actually Pathio, because I do this as a side hustle. I don't have time to think or be perfectionist. Like you'll probably find a typo in my Instagram if you went there. I hope not. But you know, like I don't have time to make things perfect. So I
Mhm.
am taking action. And sometimes, honestly, the things that I think a lot on and strategize for weeks on, when I launch them, like it's not successful. And the things that I never thought would happen, suddenly being like, oh my God, I have like a huge corporate client suddenly. Like, how did that, like, I didn't even try, you know,
Yeah.
like it's just putting yourself out there and taking action is actually sending the right signals in the universe. And that's what I try to like practice
Yeah.
on a daily basis, just like send nuggets to different places, see what feedback comes in. And that's how I like to work, yeah, in my life.
All right, great. That's I mean, it's especially if you have Pathio as a side hustle, crucial that it's not driven from that perfectionist anymore, because otherwise, I don't think we would be sitting here, and I don't think Pathio would be growing so fast. So good, you got that covered.
Yeah.
I'm a fan. And if I would ask you this question again in 20 years, what do you hope that you will have changed or tackled that you're still doing today that's maybe still blocking some of your potential today?
Yeah. I mean, there is always something blocking our potential. I'm sure in my deathbed, I'll be thinking about like the next thing that I need to be solving. But
Well, it's what makes life interesting, right? I mean, if we're perfect, if everything's developed, like what's there to do? You know?
exactly. Yeah. So yeah, I think hopefully before like the 10 to 15 year timeline. But so I just mentioned about importance of taking small steps and taking small actions. And I'm bootstrapping my business. I don't take any investors. I'm the solo founder. So I'm very much like, again, I'm going to do this alone mindset. And I think it's important to take these small actions and do it in the way that I'm doing it. But sometimes I wonder, do I do this like this because I'm playing it small? Could I be playing bigger? Could
Ah,
I
big gap.
be pushing myself a little bit more? So that's kind of where my current confusion lies. And I think we did talk about it when we were working together. I find, again, like the startup VC investment growth world very young and very male and very like, ugh, like tough, you know? Which is like not how I want to build this business. So
Yeah.
I don't take investment because I don't need it and I don't want it at this point. But also, do I not do it because I am actually intimidated to do it? Like, is there actually more growth I can
Hmm.
unlock if I gave in to that fear that I had that I'm going to lose control and I'm going to lose the purpose of this business if I get an investor in? So that's kind of where my current challenge lies, and I hope I'll fix it in the next 12 months instead of the next 12 years. And some, you know, I might do the work and decide that like, actually, no, I'm doing it the right way and this is the way it should be done. It's just right now, I'm not sure if I'm doing it in the way that it's actually intentional, but is it driven by fear? That's
Well,
my
yeah,
current
indeed, what the
question.
driver is. Is it because this intuitively feels the right path, or because fear is holding you back to think bigger and to think in that sense? Oh, good. Well, very curious to hear what the outcome is. I'm sure I will hear it when we talk separately, and I guess the people listening to this show will also notice it when they see Pathio evolve and how they see it evolve. So. All right, but thank you so much for this conversation, Naz. I really enjoyed it. I hope you did too.
It was amazing. It's always a joy to speak to. That's the favorite part of my job is I get to speak to coaches without having to be coached by them. So I like it just feels like a coaching session in itself. So thank you so much. I'm so excited for you. I'm so excited for every client that you work with. So yeah,
Yeah,
amazing.
great. And in the show notes, of course, we will also put the information on how you can get in touch with Pathio and with Naz to get matched to a coach if this is something you need. And if you know other people that really would benefit from listening to this conversation and listening to the science of how you know that you get stuck and what you can do about it, share this episode with you. And together we create a world where everyone dares to be great. Ciao.
Amazing. Thanks, Emma.